Poland is becoming a problem.
While the rest of the globe is busy with traditional Western giants such as France and Germany, there has been the gradual emergence of a new giant in the East.
Zdecydowaliśmy także o rekordowo wysokich wydatkach na obronę.
Poland, the country which emerged from communist backwood to European colossus within the last 3 decades. Poland is the country that has been turned into a military behemoth, in 2025 spending a record level of 4.7% of its GDP on defense.
Poland, when it was under communism economically, was like he said, it was broken. They finally, their GDP was on the bottom end of Europe, and now it's surpassing most European countries. Poland has made the greatest 180 we've ever seen. The culture is thriving. People used to leave Poland, like Polish citizens were emigrating out all the time to find opportunities somewhere else. Now you don't really hear about that as much. Like, you hear people moving back to Poland. I mean, I would go live in Poland. Seems like a great place.
The highest share of
and they're
the
not
NATO
big fans
alliance.
of the EU.
From the F-35 stealth fighters to the newest missile defense systems, Poland is building one of the strongest militaries on the continent. But how did a post-communist country become the 6th largest economy in Europe and the eastern anchor of NATO?
Dude, Poland's probably the anchor of Europe, let's be honest, militarily. At least one of them. I mean, obviously, the UK's
When
there.
communism fell in Eastern Europe and the Berlin Wall came down, it left Poland with an awful economic mess. Try to envision an economy with bare shelves, prices increasing out of control by over 250%, and an entire industrial sector of aged Soviet-style equipment nobody wanted to purchase. Communist regime had left Poland with massive foreign debt, creaking infrastructure, and factories that produced goods no one could sell on the global market. As the other post-Soviet nations, like Russia and Ukraine, descended into oligarchy and corruption, or like East Germany, went off to merge with their Western neighbors, Poland was faced with a unique circumstance. It needed to build its entire economy from scratch and do it without sacrificing its independence or democratic form of government.
Had to build
The
up.
scale of the transformation needed was staggering. What was involved wasn't adjusting a few policies here and there. Poland had to redefine capitalism in a country where private business had been outlawed for generations.
When I was a member, I set up a informal group of economists in Poland to work on radical economic reforms.
Leszek Balcerowicz, the finance minister of Poland, intervened and took over the economic plan called shock therapy. Rather than gradual, slow reform, Poland opted for the radical policy. All of it must change, but change everything in one leap. It's like tearing off a Band-Aid. Pain in the short run, but quickest relief.
Honestly, kind of makes sense to me. I know we'll see how it plays out. I mean, we know how it played out in the end, but that makes total sense to me. Why half send it when you can just go, all right, you know what? Let's just do it fully, 100%. And I think that mentality for Poland being very adaptable to what it's currently dealing with has shaped it very well for the position it's put itself today. I mean, you can just tell already. Hardworking people.
Through the Balcerowicz plan, Poland's economy was liberalized on 3 fronts. Privatization, the transfer of the thousands of state firms to private owners, and the creation of an authentic market economy.
You actually have business.
Currency stabilization.
You have industry.
The introduction of the convertible zloty and the control of the hyperinflationary process. Opening of the Polish borders to competition and to foreign capital flows. The outcome was at first brutal. Joblessness skyrocketed, the majority of the old industries failed, and the standard of living dropped.
Well, they just weren't capable of competing with competition outside of their country. Because that's how communism is kind of set up in a lot of ways, which obviously fundamentally I agree with it being very internal, workers' rights and stuff like that, sure. But usually the rich and the oligarchs usually benefit from these communist communism, socialist style democracies or countries. Like it's never really the people. And yeah, like when after the Soviet Union fell, or I guess but right before the Soviet Union fell, most of these countries had like really old technology, like dated technology. The Soviets kept up with what they can, but they did kind of lag behind in some industries, especially towards the latter years when the United States economy just kept taking off. These countries just couldn't compete, especially in the open. Like maybe within their little bubble, their iron wall, they were able to compete with. They can trade, do whatever with each other. But going open market, there was no
Foreign
way.
investors, however, started pouring in, drawn by the
A lot of money
educated
was
labor
coming in.
force, geographical positioning, and determination to reform. Multinationals such as Fiat, Coca-Cola, and McDonald's saw opportunities where others saw mayhem. By the mid-1990s, the medication began to take hold. Poland's economy was the best performing in the whole of Europe, and the shock of it all, after the 2008 recession, Poland was the only country in the whole of the European Union that never had one. Yet economic
Really?
reform was insufficient. Poland's politicians realized they required assurances of security, or everything they had won so recently would be lost in a moment. After all, it
Yeah,
had been a
history has
country
played
invaded
that.
and partitioned by its neighbors time and again over the centuries.
Of the people of Poland, the Cold War, which forcibly excluded our country from the West, ends with our entry to NATO. Poland, as a member of the most powerful alliance, bringing together democratic
Dictatorship.
nations
That's
of
what
Western
they
Europe
joined, the European
and
Union.
North America, joins
They're
the
not
vital
good.
process of bridging all divisions and contributes to the security and stability in Europe.
When NATO started to enlarge its membership to once communist states in the 1990s, Poland took the opportunity. The security stakes were as clear as daylight. Boris Yeltsin's Russia was in shambles and precarious, but the Polish government figured that it could not happen indefinitely. They had 3 centuries of Russian overlordship to recall and were not betting. Moscow predictably resented NATO expansion, but that was secondary to Polish security concerns.
We knew that was
Entering
going to
NATO in
happen.
1999 put Poland in the shadow of Article 5, the article stating that an attack on a member is an attack on all. Poland had America, Britain, France, and Germany firmly behind it. Membership came with duties. Polish troops had to get more modern overnight, adopting NATO standards of equipage, training, and
Yeah, but they
communications.
can get that all via trade.
Interoperability, as it came to be called, would prove important later when Poland was one of America's strongest allies in Iraq and in Afghanistan.
I actually didn't know
5 years
that.
on, there came the greater payoff: membership of the European Union. It wasn't easy to join. Poland had to demonstrate it was capable of meeting high standards in democracy, the rule of law, and economics. But the payoff was huge. Overnight, Poland had unrestricted access to the European Union's single market of more than 500 million customers. Polish companies could ship their products over European frontiers without barriers and tariffs. The membership of the EU
Which, like, ideally, the entire world has that benefit that, like, you can trade and share amongst other countries without having to face tariffs. Like, free trade, we should have a more, open trade amongst each other to an extent. I mean, I would love it to see, in a perfect world, it can work. The problem is you don't want to lag behind on your certain industries because you still want to be, like, self-sufficient. Like, and that's where I think the problem is. For, like, there was a time period where we were over trade, and then now we're kind of, totally flipping script. I think there's a good balance where you need some trade, you need to work with other countries, but you should probably focus on your industries and make sure you're, like, just in case of a war. Like, what if something happens and you need to be, like, build your own shit?
provided Poland with access to the huge fund programs. Billions of euros of structural funds to elevate the standard of the poorer regions of Europe to that of the richer ones would finance Poland's next great jump of development. And that's where the magic began, really. Since they ascended to the EU in 2004, Poland has been granted more than 100 billion euros in structural funds,
Wow.
the biggest beneficiary of EU funds to date. That's roughly the total of Poland's GDP in the year it ascended to the Union. This wasn't just sprinkling free money around. It was an investment in Poland's future. It was the EU's money for grand road construction that unleashed Poland's cities onto the wide motorway system of Europe. In 2004, the trip from Warsaw to Krakow took you through villages and towns. Now, smooth motorways blend together all across the country, reducing traveling time by half. It went a lot farther than roads. New connections to the high-speed European network.
They just built a bunch of infrastructure, which is really what a lot of citizens in America and even Europe now are asking for. We just want to see like new infrastructure and actually investments into our own countries.
Works by train united Poland with the rest of Western Europe. Even Poland's communications infrastructure was upgraded. Fiber systems reached the country's rural areas that had hardly any
high-speed
phones
internet
in the communist era. And the brilliance was the multiplier effect. For each kilometer of freeway that went in, there were hundreds of folks actually doing the construction, so they had wages to spend that circulated into their regional economies that produced even more jobs. It was economic development on steroids. Better logistics altered the economic.
Well, there was actually like
competitiveness
money
of
and
Poland.
investment.
That infrastructure boom did more than transfer people and goods. It brought the economy of Poland to the big leagues of European business. With world-class infrastructure in place, Poland was set to undergo its next makeover. As the manufacturing hub of Europe, the makeover was nothing short of spectacular. Fiat invested in a massive factory in Tychy and Volkswagen in factories in Poznan and Polkowice. They were not only assembly factories, they were highly complex manufacturing factories producing cars to export to the rest of the continent and even to beyond. Poland also became a center of car parts manufacturing, with Continental and Bosch opening factories to produce for the entire European automobile industry.
Wow, that's
Electronics
huge.
production also flourished. Companies like Dell, Samsung, and LG chose Poland as the European center of their productions because of the skilled labor and low cost. On the other hand, Poland's food processing industry capitalized on Poland's agricultural heritage, with companies like Tyson Foods and
that part of Europe is really good for agricultural. That's why like Russia partially wants Ukraine, because they want that agricultural land back, because land kind of sucks in certain parts of Russia.
Unilever setting up massive plants to serve the European markets. The statistics are mind-boggling. Poland was now EU's sixth largest economy, with its exports having grown from $28 billion in 2000 to well over $300 with its boggling.
Bigger than Belgium, Sweden, Ireland, Austria, Denmark, Romania, Czech, Finland, Poland, or Portugal, Greece, Hungary. Wow.
Poland was now EU's sixth largest economy, with its exports having grown from $28 billion in 2000 to well over $320 billion
That's
today.
actually insane.
Poland's biggest trading partner was now Germany, which absorbed almost 30% of all Polish exports. This connection to Germany was extremely strategic. Poland had basically been the production extension of Germany, where German firms could make products at a lower price.
And
but still
historically,
have
they
European
were as
quality
well.
standards.
Even if there
The
was
two
the
economies were
Rhineland.
highly integrated with intricate supply chains. Polish plants also supplied German motor behemoths such as BMW and Mercedes-Benz. German makers of machines subcontracted the manufacturing to Poland, but maintained research and development.
So Germany lost all of its jobs to Poland. That's why they're mad.
In
Makes
Germany.
sense.
It wasn't exploitation. It was economic cooperation that was convenient to both countries. Poland's strengths were attractive. Wages were significantly lower, but the population was highly qualified and highly skilled. Polish technicians and engineers could turn out German standards of output with 1/10 of the cost, so Polish products
Because of all the
had ability to
regulation in
compete
Germany, that's
anywhere
killed
in
the
world.
business.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима. И для этого мы будем стремиться к демилитаризации и денацификации Украины.
While Poland was building its economic miracle, news to the east was providing tough reminders that prosperity counts for nothing if there's no security. Russia's 2008 invasion of Georgia provided the first wake-up call. Putin's Russia was back in power, assertive, and prepared to militarize its disputes with neighbors. But it was Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and invasion of eastern Ukraine that truly shook Poland into action. Poland suddenly found itself on the NATO frontline. The complacent assumption that great European warfare was a thing of the past vanished overnight. Polish politicians suddenly learned their country wasn't just some other EU member. It was the critical stopgap between expansionist Russia and the heart of Western Europe. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Poland emerged as the main transit point for Western military aid to Ukrainian forces. This wasn't paranoia, it was strategic realism. And Russian talk of historical Russian lands was not lost on a nation that had been erased from the map by Russian expansionism in the past. Poland's reply was historic, a military buildup on an unprecedented scale in Europe since the Cold War. Today, Poland.
Well, that's also with like Europe as a whole. A lot of Europe just got comfortable with relying on the United States to just be the their guide. Hey, can you take care of that? Hey, can you threaten Russia? It got to a point where we ain't doing that anymore. You guys got to figure that out. But also, this is good for Europe, like in general. Like they should all have strong militaries. They should all not just be weak pushovers. They should be able to stand up for themselves. They should be able to represent themselves. Like, I honestly do think that this Russian fear that they have it's going to benefit them overall, because they'll actually have to clean up their militaries and actually get in line, because you got to be competitive now, because if not, Russia will attack from their perspective, because they're all very fearful of Russia.
Spends 4% of GDP on defense, NATO's highest percentage, twice as much as the alliance's 2% target, and more than the United States' proportion of economic output. The shopping list is a wish list for any military superpower. Poland purchased 32 stealth F-35 Lightning IIs from the Americans, one of only 9 nations to use this advanced plane. They've also purchased 250.
I never liked how, I get why strengthening our allies, but I've never liked how the United States just sold our military equipment. I honestly think we should keep it, because I don't want secrets and information getting leaked.
M1A2 Abrams tanks, the same ones that dominated the Iraq battlefields. The Patriot missile defense system provides protection from ballistic missiles and aircraft. But America didn't stop there with arms for Poland. They've bought
our military industry just went off in Poland.
288 South Korean K2 Black Panther tanks, some of the world's most sophisticated main battle tanks. The HIMARS rocket launchers, which were so horribly effective in Ukraine, are being shipped in great numbers. Poland is buying more than just arms. It's building a domestic defense manufacturing base. The goal is not merely to be powerful militarily, but to be independently militarily powerful.
Smart.
Polish firms
That's totally
are collaborating
smart.
with American, South Korean, and other allied firms to produce advanced weapons systems within Poland. This policy serves a variety of aims. It creates high-tech jobs, reduces Poland's reliance on overseas suppliers, and turns Poland into a regional defense hub. Other NATO allies are receiving weapons and components made in Poland, which makes defense spending economic opportunity. The vision is clear. Poland will be the arsenal of Eastern Europe, the country other nations turn to for security and for military technology. Energy security has become the keystone of Poland's independence policy. Poland was perilously reliant for decades on Russian natural gas, which provided Moscow with vast influence over Polish policy. Poland, however, broke these shackles systematically. The Świnoujście LNG terminal, launched in 2015, enables Poland to take in liquefied natural gas from the United States, Qatar, and others. Additional terminals are scheduled, providing several supply channels that avoid Russia altogether. Poland's nuclear program is yet another departure from Russian control. Instead of Russian reactor technology, Poland has chosen American and French investors for its planned nuclear plants.
The United States should be doing the exact same thing. Do not get rid of nuclear power plants. We should be building more nuclear power plants. We should find ways to actually get rid of the waste. I mean, anybody in a science class who took it in high school knows that nuclear energy is actually not a bad thing. Mistakes can happen. It's unfortunate. But at the same time, the efficiency with the energy is insane. It definitely, in my opinion, it's worth it.
Furthermore, enormous investments
way better than that shit.
Solar and wind energy are reducing dependence on all foreign sources of energy. Poland is building a new power bloc in Europe that is not reliant on the traditional Franco-German axis, but articulates Central and Eastern European interests.
Oh, that's an interesting video. Yeah, it totally makes sense why Poland, first off, subscribed to this guy. Great content. I've seen a few of his videos before. He's around 600 subscribers. So really does good stuff. Turn right. I'll drop the link in the bio below so you guys can go click on the video. But no, this guy brought up a lot of great points. And, it makes total sense why Ukraine would be in this, or Poland would be in this situation where it's like, yeah, we're right on the border with Belarus, which is buddies with Russia. We don't know which way this can go down, and we know we are the front lines of Europe. Totally smart on them to take advantage of their high-skilled labor, and that's really like Poland's investment from internally investing in itself is crazy. Yes, it got benefit from the EU. They got a crap load of money from them, which else? But they invested it smart. They were intelligent. They just didn't throw it around or let corruption eat it up. Now, I'm sure it did a little bit, but they overall put the money back into its people, and they took advantage of this very high-skilled labor. That's one thing I guess communism did well, is that it created a lot of high-skilled labor. It did. So this is a great video. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Appreciate you guys watching. Be safe, be smart, have a good one. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.